Greetings, I am KMC Guy, President and Founder of Automated System Solutions, or ASS, coming to you from the 99th floor of our world headquarters in Budapest, North Dakota, or better known as the office next to my bedroom. Let's get started. Block Programming Editor. I know a lot of you out there are probably not using the block editor. Yes, it's different and sometimes clumsy, but if you change your programming style and embrace it, I think you'll like it and prefer it as I do. I'm using it about 75% of the time. Why I like it? It's much easier to use object names. This makes it much easier to troubleshoot your code and know you have selected the correct object. Here's code made in the line code editor. Notice how it's using the mnemonics. Sure, you can use the object names, but you have to hand type those in and hopefully not make a syntax error when typing those in. Now if you type in the mnemonics, you've got to make sure that you have the right BV or BI, and it's not real obvious here that you may not have the correct one. KMC used to allow you to type in the mnemonic, compile, and it would spit back with the object name. That went away years ago. Here's that same code written in a block editor. Notice how easy it is to read this. You can verify that you have the correct objects, and you can actually understand what the program does, even though you didn't write it. It also forces a good programming flow through attaching blocks. Nested ifs are quite easy to do in this, where it may not be so obvious when you're doing it in line code. There are also several embedded macro blocks that combine lines of code. Example, less than diff. Here's the use of the less than diff block to do enabling of a boiler system based on outside air temperature with a 2-degree differential. Here's the code that it produces. It also helps prevent cut and paste errors and find and replace errors when you're pasting programs into line code and then trying to make changes to it from a previous job. I think it's much faster to use when you get used to it. The big power is the ability to make custom macro blocks. Macro blocks allow you to take code that you use all the time and put them into a logic block, and this makes it easy to attach the objects to that logic block. I think everyone should at least take advantage of the custom macro blocks, if nothing else. Let's see it in action. Okay, before you get started programming, first you want to prepare the controllers for programming. On 5901, there is an application that you can change to get rid of all of the room temperature set points, day, night, and all that. And you're going to want to do that first. So I've come in here to the device object. I'm going to go to the application properties, and here's your selections. The EM one here is English temperatures, metric temperatures, and then we got the default. You're going to want to select the default by selecting it here and then saving it, and that'll wipe out all of the room temperature stuff in the AVs and any other objects that are part of some of the default programming. Now I've already done this in this controller, so we're not going to do this. Another thing you can use this for is if you want to wipe your controller clean after you've maybe got one sitting on your desk and you want to use it from programming from job to job and you just want to clean everything out of it, then you can maybe switch it to the GPE and then switch it back to the default. Unfortunately, with the 9301, which I have here, there is no selection of the application for that. If you go to the applications, the default, there is no default one. So what I've done for that controller is I've made a backup of a 9301. You can see over here in Resource Manager, and it has all the objects stripped out and minimized and all that. And now you will usually copy that over onto the controller and clean it all out. Make sure you select the option to delete any unused objects. After you've done that, next thing you want to do is scale back the controller. So I'm going to come here to this 9301, and you'll see why this works, or why this is important later. But you're going to want to go to the analog objects, and there's going to be, I think, 60 AVs in there. you're going to want to right click in there, and I usually start off by deleting down to 20. So then I would go 21 to 60, and then I would delete those in the controller. I've already done that here, so, and then I would go to the binaries. I usually only leave 10 in, and then so I'd right click and then put in there 11 to 60 and get rid of those. This will help later on when we're doing the programming. On the 5901, also they allow you to add more programs. It defaults to 10 programs, but you can add substantially more. When you're programming with graphical block programming, it's very advantageous and much easier if you modularize your program. So you may be doing twice as many programs when you're doing graphical program as you would if you were doing line programming.